Diary of a CEO, the show hosted by Stephen Bartlett, our sources are describing it as a powerful blend of raw, introspective storytelling and deep conversations with high achievers. Now, the mission for this deep dive, it's more than just a summary. We really want to get under the hood, understand what makes this particular mix so potent. How does it actually deliver such, unique and valuable insights for you, especially when there's so much information out there, but maybe not always that much clarity or depth. We're trying to decode that formula.
Exactly. And by taking apart these elements, we can get past just saying what the show is and really start to understand why it connects with people so strongly. It's not just about success stories, is it? It's digging into that human element, the often hidden journey behind the achievement. That's where the real learning, I think, happens for you. It's in the process, not just the shiny result.
Okay, so let's get right into that description then. The first bit that jumps out is raw, introspective storytelling. I mean, in a world where everything seems so polished and curated online, what does raw really signal here? Is it just unfiltered honesty, or is it maybe something more like strategic or even brave about that level of openness? Makes it compelling, doesn't it?
Oh, raw is hugely significant here. It's probably the key to that connection you mentioned. Think about it. When guests are truly raw, they're not just listing facts. They're actually showing vulnerabilities. Like, you might hear a CEO talk about that moment of sheer panic before a huge launch, or maybe detailing a very specific public failure, one that almost finished their career. It's not vague honesty. It's naming the exact low points emotionally, strategically. It shifts things, doesn't it? From a performance to something more like a confession. And for you, the listener, that builds incredible trust. You feel like you're seeing the real person.
That's a really important distinction. It's not just, oh, I failed once. It's more like, I failed in this specific way, and here's how awful it actually felt. Yeah, and then when you add introspective storytelling to that, the guests aren't just recounting stuff, they're analyzing it, looking inward, figuring out the why behind it all. So it's not only what happened, but crucially what they learned about themselves because of it. Can you maybe give an example of how that introspection plays out?
Absolutely. That introspective part, that's where the real nuggets are, I think. It's when a guest might reflect on, say, a time of massive pressure. They don't just say, I was stressed. No, they explain how that stress showed up internally. What specific, maybe negative thought patterns kicked in? And how do they consciously try to shift their thinking or maybe change how they lead? For instance, a high achiever might talk about realizing they had this subconscious fear of success, believe it or not, or how something from their childhood actually shaped their risk appetite decades later. Bartlett's quite good at guiding them to connect those dots, sometimes seemingly unrelated things from their life, to how they make decisions now. Which it raises a key question, doesn't it? How does that depth of self-analysis give you a different kind of learning compared to just hearing, like a motivational quote?
Oh, it's completely different because you're not just getting the what to do list. You're getting the how to think and feel part, the internal landscape. It helps you understand the emotional hurdles, the real personal growth that almost always comes with significant success. You see the full kind of messy reality, the doubts, the specific battles inside their head, which makes the insights so much more relatable and, frankly, more powerful for your own path. You realize success isn't this straight line. It's built by navigating these really complex internal worlds. That kind of vulnerability, yeah, it sounds absolutely vital for real understanding. And it feels like deep conversations would naturally go hand in hand with that raw, introspective storytelling.
Yeah.
When you hear deep conversations, what clicks in your mind? What makes it different from just a standard interview? How does it get beyond that surface level Q&A we often see?
Well, what's really interesting is how deep seems to mean pushing past the first answer, even when the guest thinks they've fully answered. It's not just about asking clever questions. It's often the follow-up. It's the willingness to maybe let there be a bit of uncomfortable silence, or maybe it's the host connecting something the guest said earlier, something seemingly unrelated, to shed new light on their philosophy now. Like, instead of just asking, what's your biggest lesson? A deep conversation might have the guest describe a really painful hiring mistake. And then Bartlett might ask something like, and what core belief about people did that actually shatter for you? How did you rebuild your trust after that? See, it digs into the root motivations, the fundamental shifts, and how they see the world.
Right.
So it's digging beneath the surface answer to find the core belief, the foundational principle driving them. That's where those aha moments people talk about must come from, isn't it? When things suddenly connect, not just logically, but in terms of understanding someone's whole way of operating. If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Hmm.
This depth isn't just intellectual, it's almost like emotional archaeology.
Yeah.
You're digging down to the bedrock of their character and what makes them tick.
Precisely. That depth helps you link things that might seem separate, like a childhood story, a business failure, a current leadership tactic, and see the pattern. It shows you the strategic thinking, the resilience, maybe even the subtle biases that shaped how that high achiever got where they are. It's about revealing the entire ecosystem behind their decisions. So you're not just getting facts, you're getting a kind of blueprint of their internal logic and their emotional intelligence. And for you, the listener, who's trying to absorb knowledge efficiently but also deeply, this kind of deep dive format gives you those distilled, really meaningful insights. It avoids that feeling of being swamped with data. Instead, you grasp complex ideas effectively because the why and how are explored so thoroughly. It's efficient, yes, but more than that, it's incredibly rich learning and usable. Which brings us neatly to the third key piece of the Diary of a CEO, that laser focus on high achievers. Okay, so we've got the raw introspective storytelling, we've got the deep conversations. Now, when you apply this specifically to people who've really excelled business, sports, art, science, whatever, what unique perspectives do you think you can really pull from that? What kind of wisdom or practical takeaways should you expect from these specific interactions that you might not get elsewhere?
Well, focusing on high achievers, but doing it with that raw, deep approach, means you get this incredible window into the minds of people who have genuinely stretched limits. It's not just a random collection of feel-good stories. It's like a living, breathing case study every time. Imagine hearing, say, a tech billionaire talk about battling imposter syndrome even after selling multiple companies. And then through that deep conversation, they reveal the exact journaling technique or the specific daily mantra that became their tool for coping. Or maybe a famous artist describing the absolute terror of facing a blank canvas, followed by a really detailed exploration of their creative process, how they actually channel that fear into productive energy.
That's a really strong point. It's not just acknowledging failure happens. It's understanding how a specific successful person processed their unique failure. What precise strategies did they use to get past it? What core principles guided them through their toughest times?
It feels like getting unfiltered wisdom, doesn't it? Not just on what they achieved, but how they thought, how they managed their own psychology, and the fundamental principles that guided their really complex choices.
Exactly.
It's almost like getting access to their internal operating manual. It offers this unique lens into the mindsets and strategies that really set them apart.
Precisely. This whole approach gives you, the listener, a kind of powerful shortcut. You start to understand the mechanics of success, gaining perspectives and lessons often hidden behind the polished public image. And you get it directly from the people who lived it. You're not just watching from afar. You're gaining this intimate, almost tactical grasp of the journey, the whole journey, warts and all the complexities, the triumphs. It's like getting a detailed map from someone who's actually navigated that tricky terrain successfully. Okay, so let's pull these three threads together now. We have raw, introspective storytelling, we have deep conversations, and this consistent focus on high achievers. How does this specific combination actually create that powerful blend the source description mentioned? What's the synergy? What makes it more than just, the sum of its parts?
The synergy, yeah, that's where the real transformation happens, turning standard interviews into these quite profound learning opportunities. Think about it. The raw vulnerability, maybe it's admitting a humiliating business mistake or a deep personal struggle, it makes the insights from these titans incredibly relatable, memorable too. It humanizes them, right? It closes that gap between their huge achievements and maybe your own goals. Yeah. It makes their wisdom feel attainable. And then, crucially, the deep conversations make sure these vulnerable moments aren't just sob stories. No, they get properly unpacked to pull out actionable, nuanced understanding. So when a high achiever admits they nearly gave up, the deep dive explores the exact thought process, the specific mentors maybe, or the mental shift that kept them in the game. This isn't just surface-level motivation saying, don't quit. It's like a forensic look at what resilience actually is in practice.
Right. So it's not just a story about success, but a practical, humanized strategy you might actually be able to use. You're getting the emotional background right alongside the intellectual lesson. That sounds like a really holistic learning experience. It tackles both the psychology and the strategy behind achievement. It's about getting the full spectrum, isn't it? From the initial idea through the failure all the way to the win, but seen through this intensely personal filter.
Precisely. This blend delivers a pretty comprehensive education. Actually, you understand not just the what of their success, but the how and the why, and it's all rooted in their lived experience. It's a method that helps you connect, I think, the emotional courage needed for vulnerability with the intellectual discipline needed for deep self-reflection. And you get all that in the context of learning from people who have genuinely achieved amazing things. It really does demystify the path to, well, extraordinary results.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into the diary of a CEO. Really illuminating. We've peeled back those layers to see how that power of authentic, raw storytelling, when combined with truly deep conversations and focused on the wisdom from high achievers, how it all comes together to create something so compelling and genuinely useful for learning. It's quite a masterclass in pulling knowledge from human experience.
It really is. And maybe something for you to think about reflecting on all this is the importance of introspection in your own learning journey. How could you, maybe in your own work or life, seek out or create chances for genuinely deep conversations, both with other people and maybe even with yourself? The things we've discussed today might encourage you to look for that depth and authenticity, not just in podcasts or media, but in all the information you take in, and maybe even in how you face your own challenges and celebrate your wins. Don't just skim the surface, dig a bit deeper. You might just uncover your own unique operating manual in the process.